All right, the Between Two Wheels podcast. This is a little breakdown of the Auburn Crit. Wait, Winchester. Did you do Winchester? I know you tuned in for the Auburn Crit, but look at this. These magnificent views, gorgeous weather. It's a rolling terrain. It's got some steep little punchy climbs. We've got a national champion over there. We've got golf course every lap to come around. If you showed up, you not only were able to look at this descent, super fast, wonderful terrain. Me personally, I got sick. This is a bit on the first lap. I got dropped pretty quick on the first lap. You know what? Let's just go straight to the Auburn Crit. Auburn Crit, the next day, Sunday, another fantastic event. And we're going to do a little walkthrough of some of the race here. And at the end, I show a little highlight with Brian Zimny's camera and my camera. Do a little combo of the two. Give you a good perspective. So, first of all, we're going to just sit here and watch the first lap. So you start out, now the start-finish line is right here, but they stage us back a little bit, and it starts up on this little bit of a climb. Not too much of a descent here. Start calling some people out here. Michael Claudio, he had a massive day of riding. He did like 3 races, I think, the day before. He had a bunch this day, rode out to the race, I think, had 80-plus miles of riding. He comes out and sticks it in the races. Kudos to him. What do we have in the field? We had some data-driven athlete, myself, Tyler Janke, Curt Mills joined up. Day of, he rode out there from Nevada City, decided to spend about $65, throw it down. He had Brian Zimny here, national road champion for the 35s. He had two teammates in there, Jay Newton and also Grunman, David Grunman. Once again, let's go through data-driven athlete. We had myself, Ryan Chepernick, who had got second in the 35 3/4s, I think, earlier. Nate Dunn, Curt Mills, and John Novikov. John Novikov is leading the the bar. So our goal for is to continue to see how much we can keep out in that and keep him up front, which means, spatter our team for the bar at least too, or the bat, to get as many. There goes Curt. Curt, he's had some good luck at this race. So he comes in first lap, decides, I just joined in. I put my money down. I might not be ready to race this thing. But look at me. I've had glory here before, soloing off years ago with data-driven athletes. So never know. First lap, we'll give it another shot. Okay, so you have the first little punch up there from the start finish. Just walk around here. Then you have this gradual climb up to the top. And as you approach the top of the climb up here, it takes a right, there's some rough road, and then it's a nice steep descent with some turns. So I like to get out in front. I really like this descent. It's really fast, as you're going to see here from the power. And I didn't put speed on my camera, but you pretty fast. The way I take this first left-hand corner is you're coming into it pretty hot. Claudio gets in front of me, do a little braking, but you want to release right before the corner and let your momentum fly you through. I don't want to be sprinting out of these corners to catch the wheel in front of me. And as I'll highlight a few of those later on, because my sick, not as good a fitness as some of these guys, I can't be wasting those watts. But here's a critical run right here. You come around this corner, and if you're sprinting, 700, 800, 600 watts for a little bit, a few hundred meters to catch onto the wheel right before it starts popping uphill, for me, that's deadly. Not as much for some of these guys, so it's not a big deal. And our field, 20-some maybe. So, Claudio, you had some guys from Cognition here. Scott Cox, Matthew. I don't have to get the names of all these guys because I'm not really familiar with all of them. So, we'll cut right back through. That was the first lap. Now we're showing you a little bit of the descent. What I'm going to do on these ones, trying to see how other people are doing and how I want to take it. Once again, I'm talking about releasing, coming into the corner right about before the apex. I actually want to release, and there's so much downhill that you accelerate through the corner. And so if there's any gap, I'll close that down, no problem. But here's what I'm talking about, where I'm going to have to start sprinting out of these corners to get up to these, let's see, like 500 watts. That's going to take its toll on me. So, look, there's other people corner the way they corner, and they do. Everyone was doing just fine. But that's not a deal for me. So I have to do something different during the race to, resolve that. Jonathan Baker, Touchstone, Die Endurance, is out here as well. He's a guy you always got to worry about. So those are my two teammates, Ryan Chepernick and John Novikov. And there is Jonathan Baker right there. Very much a danger guy and someone that we were very concerned with. He had, I think, won the 45s earlier. Oh, Curt's done. So that was his day. And thank you for coming out. Okay. Once again, take some of this descent. Just going to show some of the moves early on. Nothing was really getting away. There's a lot of action. Our team was doing very good to stick up in there and try to cover all the breaks as much as we could. So see, early on here, I have some issues with getting on some guys where I'm not feeling like I think this is Scott Cox, and he's very strong. So if he has a gap here coming out of this corner, that's not going to be much for him. But I've got to, once again, punch it a little bit. And as I said, that's going to start taking its toll on me. Now, this wasn't too much because the guys are kind of all sitting up, and it's not too much of a problem. Now, look at this town. This is a great race, steep uphill, lower downhill. So now Ryan on the back section takes a little flyer, and what we're doing here is we're just causing other teams to have to chase, which Baker does here as well. And now no one's going to be letting him get away. Scott Cox goes, Nate's going. We had the same with our teammate John Novikov. Claudio here chasing that, and it's not a steep uphill, but it's just enough that it starts to wear you down over and over and over. So our goal, once again, make sure you're represented in the breaks. Now, the problem you can have with some of this is, and we see this at one point where we almost blow it, where we're getting in all the moves, and then a move counters off of some of those, and maybe we're not quite ready for it, and we're missing out on it. So you can be ready in all the moves, and sometimes it actually comes against you when the crunch time comes. So we're in about 15, 16 minutes into the race here, and nothing's been getting away. Once again, down the corners, hard left. I think Ronnie Leavitt last year when it got tangled up and went into the hay bales on that corner. So it can be pretty detrimental. I had trouble in this race a few years ago where I just wasn't feeling good, and I was on my teammate's wheel, Andrew Shimizu, and he was so strong coming out of these corners and up the hills that it wasn't a problem. And once again, see, this is not what I want. I'm putting out too much water. So I really try to make an effort to make this change when I start feeling better here later on. And once again, the backside, we're going to show some more attacking going on. There goes Nate following Cognition riders, making Zimny chase. And at many points, try to get to the front here because you can have a nice clean line. That corner right there was a little rough. Dropped my chain a few times. Talking about dropping chains, some people took some mechanicals with that. So flying down the corners, taking those hot, and into the final stretch. What a great course. I'm a little disappointed there wasn't more people showing up. And so Ryan, once again, showing exactly what I was talking about, making other teams chase, that we don't want to be the ones on the front having to bring things back and getting them up and out of there. Now, kudos to the Cognition guys. They showed up for Winchester. They showed up for this race as well, and they're most of them from the Bay Area. So, watch the cones there, John. Showed up from the Bay Area, so really good for them for coming out and doing two amazing races. Last one's, I think, on the Red Kite calendar. We'll have to get into that in one of the next podcasts, kind of the controversy of the races getting taken off the calendar for the Red Kite. John, so I take different people here. Jonathan Baker does a tremendous job going down the hill, and you kind of take a stock of who's doing what on the descents, because that's a key. If you go over to my goal here is, hey, I go over the top first and try to hold on to the bottom, and then you got to sprint here, and your odds are much better coming out of the corner first or second. You can definitely overcome someone, but your odds are in a much better situation for being able to hang on. So at this point, I think the race starts to do a little splitting up for me. We're about 15, 18 minutes in. John's looks like he's feeling good, so that's my main concern. I'm starting to feel a little bit better. Baker hits the gas. Ryan misses out. John misses out. I'm missing out. But we're chasing it down. So this would be an interesting race with a little bit more field size to see how this and so look, Ryan's already did well in the day. He's ends up with a good result here as well. But we're all kind of just knowing what we're doing, and it's metering out your efforts. It's maybe not the one you want to go to. Plus, we have John up the road, so that's fine. But there was a few too many people up there for what we liked. So I decided to go and try to bring some of this back. All right, getting back all together. And this is the way it was for a lot of the day. All right, we're going up into about 22 minutes in. This just shows kind of how the frustration was. I mean, Jonathan Baker was doing a lot of work trying to bring things back, but we have Ryan up the road now, and we're not chasing, so he gets a little frustrated. Rightly so, but I don't think there was any, I mean, we weren't going to do the work for it, but maybe Cognition or one of these other Pete's or Claudio for Thirsty Bear could have done something. I think that's what he was asking for, but you know, he gets cooperation later on anyway. Okay, so this is kind of where things start to hit the fan for me. I think John goes through a little spot of bother here. Nate's looking, our teammate Nate Dunn is starting to look really good up there in the turquoise bike, and go up the steeper little incline here. What do we look at? 9%. And I just not quite connecting. I'm making sure John is coming with me, and he's not quite there. So I'm trying to put up enough power to bridge that. Now I'm letting up here. This guy rode pretty good during the day, but you know, he just was off the front. He slots in, and he's getting gapped, not for any other reason than the guys just went by him. So my goal here is, okay, I got to get John up to that group. That's very dangerous. That could be the one going away. And so I put it down, and as I'm coming up here, I look back and he's not with me. So I'm backing off because he's our guy. He's our one for the bar that's leading, and we need him, you know, those points to continually be up top. And he's been riding well. He just was missing this. So I take it upon myself to come back. Zimny, he's not going to wait. He blows up there. And I wish I had a rear camera on this, but basically I'm waiting for John to connect, and I have that descent that I think I can make good on, and then the uphill again, and we'll see what we can do. Right hand corner, little rough road, and I'm not quite sure if John's even on me, so I'm going to take this decent because I want to close that down as much as possible, and John's no slouch in descending as well. I mean, this looks more harrowing than when you're on the bike. Right here, right there, I let off the brake. I touched the brake right before that and let it off and allow myself to accelerate through. Every time there's like a patch, where they redid the road that I target to let the brake off every time. And then when I'm really trying to go, to do it a little bit before that. I close it down a little bit here, looking back, waiting for him. Not going to unload it quite as much until he gets there. I do not want to be out there riding solo for this race, which has happened to me multiple times. So, looking to get any help. Wait for John to connect. This guy did fairly well for the day. It's what's interesting here too. We have a mixed group. I mean, look, the race looks like it's over. I mean, those guys are up the road, and we're not making the best here. So, okay, I think John's just about on. At which point, I'm waiting. Come on, John. All right. So, well, you know, do or die at this point. We have around the corner, the long drag up the hill, and then the downhill. And that's my goal. Get him up to the top and let him connect over the bottom with the descent, which I know he's more than capable of doing. Because we got to have our numbers represented up there. I think everyone else on the team is up front. Ryan and Nate, at least. I think so. Here we go. Let's just do 400 or 500 to the top of the hill and see what happens. I'm looking back. He's there. It was just so weird is we're able to do this effort to try to catch back on. But for some reason, just during those lacking moments, not quite having it to connect it when you needed to, it was stupid. I don't know what else to say. That's bike racing. The motivation when you don't want to necessarily go to keep up, keep doing it. So look, getting here near the top. feel pretty bad. Tell John, go, go, go. And I'm just like, just going to sit up. And look, he made it. And so what happens here is for the next 2 laps, pretty much chase and don't quite connect for a little while. Grunman and I go back and forth. He kind of missed out. John did a really good job of connecting and staying on. Matter of fact, he ends up going through this group. And by the time I connect with it, he's off the front of it. So look, this is a faster speed camera-wise. So just letting you know that this is not actually how I was riding. I'm a little smoother than this, not quite so jumpy. So look, Grunman's gone. I think he and I regroup again. At some point, I get Michael Claudio comes by and does a decent amount of work. So I try to do one of my little full-on torque up the hill like I did with John. For the most part, it wasn't that windy back here either. So it's been before where you have a decent headwind going up this, where it almost makes the climb more significant. And this year, look, this weather is just fantastic. So that group's just close. The motorbike's going to get out of my way, I hope. All right, do I connect? I connect with Grunman. But I'm not connected to the group yet. So, well, or am I? Okay. That's with Nate. Oh, they're gone again. Man, and see, this is what I'm talking about. Just those little times, and I was fighting this all day and just having some mental difficulties. Although once I connect here, then I pretty much say, screw it. I'm fine. And thanks for Claudio here. Michael Claudio coming by. Let me jump on your wheel. I'm not going to let this go. And then we're connecting. And I get up to the group here, right around the corner, and pretty happy. John's gone. My teammate, John Novikov, is gone. So now we're jumping into coming down. When we come around, I took over I did this much more after I connected with the group. We're jumping ahead here. But I would try to go to the top and go down first, because then I could just slot in. I'd come down to the bottom. I'd usually have a pretty good gap from everybody, and I could just kind of roll my way at the bottom. Once again, I was talking about having to chase every time I'd come to the bottom, and that just wasn't going to help me. And certainly going up the next climb, I'd have to save my energy every little spot I could get. And so this was my strategy. I'd rather punch it over the top than have to punch it down here onto someone's wheel. And so then I could just sit and coast. And it really wasn't much to get over the top of everybody on the side. So now we got Brian's camera. Brian's camera on the lower right here. He's going to, I think we're coming by here with 2 to go. And he's got Grunman with him. His teammate, Jay Newton's off the front with Jonathan Baker and Scott Cox. Scott Cox's teammate. And then there was in between there, Ryan Chepernick, our teammate, and then John Novikov. So 2 to go here. I'm getting distance. They're going up the road. And once again, I was like, this isn't going to happen to me. But I already talked about those times where had some issues. Just mentally, you're almost ready to just give it in. It's like, 2 laps to go. I did my work. I got John up there. Maybe it's just time to go. But why not keep going? So Brian's sitting in a good spot. He's got a teammate. I mean, look, we're going to be sprinting for 7th and 8th here. It's not much, but you always got to push it out. And like I said, we've got these bat points going, I think 15 deep. So the more we can smatter them throughout the top 15, the better. No danger in that. All right. So caught back up. Now I feel like, okay, hang on for the last lap. So what's my goal coming into the last lap? And what's odd is, when we cut to this here, was basically there's nothing going on. Everyone pretty much had a teammate up there. It looked like Claudio wasn't perhaps his Superman self, so he was willing to sit in and do what we were doing here. Pete had Jay Newton up the road, like I said. Cognition guy had someone up the road. We had 2 guys up the road. I was surprised that they didn't chase a little bit just to get John Novikov, who was just dangling the whole day. Once I caught back up for the last 20 minutes or so, just dangling ahead of us. He never was more than 15, 20 seconds. He was always right in our front window. We can see him there, but I was surprised these guys didn't chase him down. A few times they kind of started to, and we just kind of roll the front. It's just one more placing. And sure, why not? Especially when you had Grunman and Zimny both in the group there. I guess maybe their concern was we don't want to do anything to jeopardize getting possibly up to J and bringing a whole bunch of people up there. So, why screw a potential win just so we can grab this one placing? And, I think it's not a bad decision. This is a hard enough day, so why not? So as you can see here, I'm on the back. My goal is to not be on the back. I want to be first through that corner. I don't feel great. As you saw, I got dropped there with 2 to go. So now I'm going to fight as hard as I can to make sure I'm staying in, because I know Grunman's going to go to the front here for, let's just see the finish since they're behind us. And this is how it shakes out. Jonathan Baker, Cox, Ryan Chepernick, Jay Newton, and the Cognition guy. So now we're up the road. They weren't that close to us, but I thought I'd just insert that in there. So Zimny's taking the front here, and I know that he's got Dave Grunman to really do a lot of the heavy work up the next one. And, Brian's always motivated to take the sprint, field sprint, no matter what it is. I've had some successful sprints against Brian. I'm definitely not feeling that snappy today. So my goal is I'm hoping, and look, he's gone down this hill. I haven't seen him be wayward at all, taking the descent. So I know that my only chance is to jump ahead of him, maybe get him a little gap. I know I could probably get a little gap at the bottom, but I just don't know how else to take this other than to try to take it from the front. So I'll wait till about 2/3 of the way up the climb, and then I'm going to attack. That's my goal, and that's pretty much what lays out here. So you can see Brian here. Got Dave Grunman just pounding out the watts. Good pickup for them this year. You guys need to float him a new kit, though. Looks like he's rolling on the old one. So here's where I'm like, where do I want to go? So we're riding pretty hard. But you can't wait too long. So this is about where you have to go. And I don't have a stellar kick left in me. I never do hit over 1,000 watts, which is really what I would need to do to kind of pop and to get the gap. But you can see as soon as I go, Brian easily jumps around Grunman. He gets going down there, and he's going to... So look at my power here. I'm just trying to maintain... I want to have as much left for the final sprint as possible. I think I could usually do fairly well against Brian, but I just know I don't have much. So I'm not going to... The only chance I have is to try to have as much at the finish as possible. So I'm not going to put too much out going down this section. Ryan's got me in his sights. He does a really good job of staying up there just enough. And he gauges us quite well. If I was sprinting lights out, he might have more trouble. But even then, it's a long finish. So I sit down, power a little bit, and then go to stand up to sprint. And as soon as Brian comes over the top, he comes over quick with not much of a problem. So congratulations for him. We got 7th and 8th there. Good day out with my teammates. Thanks for Victory Velo for putting on the race. Wonderful event. And you can see they're in the top 15. So congrats to everyone that showed up. Baker, Scott Cox, Ryan Chepernick. Yeah, what's Ryan say about that? He liked it. Thanks everyone